and good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I have no idea where in the world you're watching from. I'm just excited that you are here, that you are watching, that you are just engaged. I want to honor your time because you could be doing anything else in the world that you want to do. And you chose this time to listen to Lena and I. And so just excited about this podcast and what it's growing to be and how we get to enhance it. And I think you're going to be super excited today. Lena I got to know her over the last, I guess, couple months. And there's just when you talk about special people that are in the world and talk about people that are making a difference and an impact, Lena is one of those folks. And so I can't wait to hear from her today. Can't wait to talk to her, to chop it up with all the things that she is absolutely doing to make a difference in our lives. And, what I think about living boldly with purpose and what does that mean? And I've been literally struggling with it for a little bit because I think about purpose and I say, okay, well, what is my purpose? Why did God put me here? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Because sometimes you get excited about, I got to go do this thing. And then you go try it out and then it doesn't work. And then you go, okay, who can help me? But then you get with a group of people that say, you know what, you are going in the right direction. You are doing the right things. You are making an impact. You are helping. And then you get excited about it. And then you realize, like all the jobs and stuff that you've been doing. And then I don't know if it's like this, I think of I'm now 60 years old. So I got like a lifetime of things that I've tried, a lifetime of things that I did. Even when I started, I was a school teacher. And I did not want to go to college. I was a special ed kid, and I just happened to be a pretty good athlete. And my mom begged me to go to college. She's like, "You're getting scholarship offers. We don't want to. This is going to be your future. Education is important." I said, "Mom, I just want to go to stunt school. I want to be a stunt man, and that's all I want to do. Let me go to Hollywood." And I did. I happened to enjoy actually running track. And so I said, okay, I'll go track for 4 years and then I'll go to stunt school. So I picked the school that I could go to that was giving me offers that was as close to Hollywood as I possibly could find. So I went out to California and I went to school at Azusa Pacific University. And I just had a pretty good track career. And then I got an education. And so I said, well, let me go be a school teacher. But do I really want to? And I was, and I've been a coach, and I've coached now for 38 years, and I've coached some Olympians, and I've coached some, high school state champions, and I love what I do, but I just wasn't sure if it was in purpose. And then I realized as kids are calling me back, when you're 25 years old or 24, when I started teaching PE at the high school, you don't realize the age gap because you think every student is like, this little kid. And so now I had one of my athletes call me last week or 2 weeks ago, and she's just thanking me for all the things that we did. We still talk to each other, and she's 50 something years old. And I'm like, there's no way that I have students that are in their 50s that are having grandkids and then the impact you make. And I'm like, for that time in that season, I was living in purpose. And I think a lot of people think it's always this something that's so far away. And then you go, wait a minute, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now, and I'm doing it to my best of my ability, then I'm in purpose and I'm doing, what I should probably be doing. Unless you just, you just really hate what you do all day, every long. But so I just wanted to share that. I don't know why that came out today, that I was just thinking about you and purpose and, the things that you're doing and the things that you're able to help folks with. And so I'm going to let you start with your story. I'll let you start with whatever it is where I tell folks, you can start your story. You can't get it wrong because it's your story. But if you make it up, your mom might come back and get you. But I can't get you because I don't, you can make up all kind of stuff that happen in your life, but nobody does. And so please tell us, from your perspective, where you'd like us to go, and then we'll chop it up right after that. Thank you for being on today and being willing to come here and talk. And she's going to be talking at an event we're doing in a week, and I'll talk about that at the end as well. So please go ahead.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you. I was actually very much looking forward. And it's interesting. I won't make up my story because my mom will probably be watching this. She might be watching it this week. So I love how you described living with purpose. because I think there are so many of us get to the point in our life and we say, wait a minute, like, why am I here? When I was signing that cosmic contract, did I read the small font? So that was the question that I faced. Now, I was in my 40s at the time. And like, picture this: dark bedroom. Don't worry, we'll keep it clean. Dark bedroom. My husband is snoring on my side, although he will tell you he doesn't snore. And I am with the phone in my hands, just going through social media, like doom scrolling, right? We call it. And from time to time, algorithm will pop up an inspirational quote or like a meaningful meme. And I would like it and I would love it and I would comment on it night after night. And eventually I was like, wait a minute, what is happening? Why am I liking and loving inspirational quotes instead of living that life?
Ooh, I like
So that made me pause because it felt very bratty. Why do I say that? Because at that time in my 40s, I held pretty comfortable job. I was in a corporate for 25 years. So all of those accolades, multiple six-figure salary, company funded stock. I had a month and a half paid vacation. I worked from home and I put my heart and soul into that company. I was with them for 25 years. And all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I feel like I am paying the dues. I'm not living my purpose. What is my purpose? So I'd be lying if I told you that like skies opened up and doves came down, like none of that. My alarm went off. I got up. I went to my corporate job again. But it's interesting how universe always listens. And it's tuning into our dominant intent. And in that moment, without realizing, I kind of set the intention to figure out, who am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do? And it was so interesting because shortly after, serendipitously, which actually is never that, it's always intentional, I was talking to one of the non-traditional healers, and I was talking to her about a family member. It wasn't even about me. And she looked at me and she went, so what do you want? And I was like, wait, what? She's like, what do you want? And I just blurted it out. I said, I want to live my life's purpose. I don't know what it is, but I want to live my life's purpose. And at that time, I was supporting one of the senior executives who was a female, which was so exciting because I used to work with men all the time. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm now supporting a female CEO, basically. And I was like, she's going to help me live my life's purpose. Dr. B, that healer, looked at me and she had that smirk on her face and she goes, she will. Fast forward, that was the person who actually laid me off from my corporate job after 25 years. And I could not have been more grateful for that sequence of events because that actually what led me to start my coaching company. That is what actually gave me that momentum and created the tailwinds to realize my purpose, which is to serve the expansion of the world, to help other people learn how they can use the power of their mind to live the life by design instead of existing by default. That became my life's purpose. And today, a good day for me is if I can deliver that message, if I can bring that belief to more people than I had yesterday. So that's my story.
Wow. That's so cool that it came there. So I want to ask some questions come before because you have an accent. And, you know, and as you grew up, and when we think about identity, you know, and the identity that you hold for yourself, did you grow up just thinking, hey, I'm going to do corporate work at first for the rest of my life? Or did you have to mold into the person you are now based on circumstances, kids, all that? Maybe just kind of who you were and who you had to become to get to where you're at now?
That is such a brilliant question. You probably didn't even realize how brilliant that question is. Well, yes, I do have an accent. And by the way, it gets thicker as the day progresses because the more tired I get, the more it. I was originally born in Belarus, which at the time was part of former USSR. So not only was I not expected to be in corporate or own a business, that was actually illegal at some point in time.
Wow.
It was a very different structure. Now, when I say that, people usually get super excited. And this is the moment when I hope my mom is not listening. And they go like, so you escaped communist regime. Is that why you came to United States? And I say, no, I actually had a fallout with my boyfriend during a prom. And I decided to teach him a lesson and go far, far away. And going over the pond felt pretty far.
That's
so
pretty
I
far,
actually was. It was pretty far, right? So I was proving the point. I came to United States just studying college. Pretty much had intentions going back. Now, truth to be told, when you're 17 and you go somewhere, even if it's not over the ocean, and you spend 4 or 5 years there, your whole life changes, right? You don't actually get a chance to go back to your childhood because that place doesn't actually exist. Well, in my case, it literally didn't exist. The country fell apart. So I got my degree, which was interesting because I originally planned to be a doctor. Because let's be real, if you're an immigrant kid, you become either a doctor or a lawyer, or you're not trying. So I was like, I got to be a doctor, right? Well, that was a terrible idea because I'm afraid of blood. I feel people's pain personally. So by like my 3rd year in pre-med, my academic advisor was like, girl, do the world a favor, switch your majors. This is terrible for all involved. Amazing, right?
Yeah.
I was a junior in college, 3 years of tuition. So I pivoted. That's what we do in life. And I graduated with a bachelor in psychology and minor in chemistry. So basically educated unemployed. So what do? We throw money on a problem. And I went and I got my master's degree. And my master's degree actually what got me into corporate. Because to get the diploma, to get my MBA, I had to do an internship. That's what got me into corporate. I tell everybody they raised me from the pup. I was literally 20 when I started. They couldn't even let me rent a car when I was on a business trip because I wasn't 21.
Wow.
And happy hours were kind of weird because I was not old enough to drink. But you know what? I had an amazing, amazing career. I met some of my best friends in that company. And kind of reflecting on what you said at the beginning of the show, those 25 years were not a mistake. They were intentional. They actually chiseled the identity of who I am because of the experiences that I have gone through. So I'm a deep believer that we're always where we're supposed to be. And even if it doesn't make sense in the moment, it's because the dots are being connected and we just haven't seen that whole picture. We're not zoomed out enough.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love your story because I'm picturing you like leaving your boyfriend, getting on a plane, and then ending up here in the U.S. But you had to have some people here that you came to. It couldn't have been like you just showed up in New York all by yourself, or was it like that where you had to figure it out, or did you have relatives and people here that you could lean on at first?
I was very fortunate. So my mom at the time already lived in the United States. So it was because of her, I was able to come and get a student visa and study here in the United States. And I have to tell you, I mean, I've been here for a long time. I came in 94. So this is home, like full-blown home. Obviously, I raised my kids were born here and raised here. And I have to tell you, like, Americans are special. Like, I have never felt that I was imported goods. I always felt
Mm,
welcomed.
that's so good.
Always felt welcome. Now, I was always very curious about the culture. And when I came, my views were skewed because my understanding of America were based on shows I watched. So 90210, Santa Barbara. And to your point, then I landed in JFK and I'm like, this looks nothing like what I saw on TV.
Yeah.
I still haven't made it to California all these years. And I live in
Wow.
Pennsylvania and it is semi Santa Barbara, but I have always found Americans to be incredibly welcoming, very genuine, like very genuine. Like they truly care. I have met so many incredible people who wanted to hear my story, who wanted to help along. And yeah, I love this place.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. And so then you get to work 20 years old, you're working in corporate, you're figuring how to create relationships and people. And I'm assuming at some point the boyfriend that was in Russia is not the man that you married, right? You left him for good, as far away as you ever could do. So,
Yeah.
so just tell me a little bit about like family and what it meant to work corporate and still be a
Yeah.
mom and how you figured that out. Was it just, hey kids, we're getting a babysitter and you're doing this, or everyone, was there any struggle personally with you and being home, or how did that work out for you?
So I started pretty traditionally saying, I'm going to get to the top, right? Like you
Okay.
don't start in corporate planning to play small, right? Especially if you have college loans to pay. So right out of the gate, I was like, I'm an A student. I'm a high achiever. We're going to get
Mm-hmm.
this thing right. So to me, getting that thing right was be a yes woman, take on the assignments, show up, travel, be available, represent. And I did that for years. So it was like nothing to me to hop in a car and drive from Pennsylvania to Connecticut, where we were headquartered, being 8 months pregnant. Now I'm looking back going like, oh my God, what if I went in labor on 78? But I was like, that's the price you pay, right? So when we had our first child, who is, by the way, turning 20 tomorrow,
Yay.
I was like, okay, we're gonna have this and life. I'm going to continue my corporate career, and we're gonna raise the kid. So I did what a lot of my friends were doing at the time. We found a daycare that started the baby room at 6 weeks, and off he went. We had our traditional, ear infections, ear tubes, runny nose for years. But that was the price to pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is the corporate life. We're building the future here. So a couple years later, we had our second child, our daughter. And at that time, I was like middle management, what was considered. So the stakes were higher, the demands were bigger. And all of a sudden, this was no longer like a 9 to 5, 40 hours a week job.
Mm-hmm.
When we would go into a season, we would pull 60-hour weeks. No ifs, buts, or coconuts. That's what you did. I had a team. And so there were years where I literally would just like toss a donut at my kids from a distance to keep them away, and I would continue with my job. So that was actually another pivoting moment where after one of those quote unquote seasons, I felt like I had to kind of reward my kids for not totally dismissing me and still considering me as their parent. So we took them to Disney. And this story still kind of brings tears to my eyes. So we took them to Disney. We had a great week. And now we're flying back home. We're sitting at Orlando International Airport. And I look at my daughter, and she was like 5 at the time. And I see like tears running down her face. And of course I go like, oh, girl, are you going to miss Mickey? And she looks me dead in the eyes. And she goes, I'm going to miss you.
Ooh.
I was crushed
Mhm.
because I watched my own kid traumatized by what I thought was building her future. But in
Mhm.
reality, she was literally having a PTSD going home because she assumed that the minute she steps her foot in the house, I'm going to disappear. So I looked at my husband and he looked at me and he goes, this will never happen again. There will never be another season. And I have to tell you that I had to do a lot of thinking on that flight back home. And
Mhm.
no, I didn't quit when we landed. No, I didn't. But we took small steps that created significant shifts. For
Okay.
example, we promised each other that we will always have dinners together.
Okay.
That was harder to do as kids were getting older and they were playing sports,
And yeah,
right?
they got lives, right? Wow.
And anybody who has kids playing youth sports, you know that sometimes kids don't get home till 8 or 9.
Mhm.
Didn't matter. The deal was the deal. We always had dinners together. And to this day, if our son comes home from college, we have dinners together. And to this day, our daughter sits down and has dinner with us. And let me tell you, that has definitely become the foundation for our relationship because the conversation flows differently when you break bread.
Yes, it does. It does. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that story because when I think about the transformation that you're helping people achieve now, without you going through those moments and those aha, like, wait a minute, your daughter is saying, I'm going to miss you. And you saying, I made changes. And then those changes transformed their lives. So now, as you're feeding into people now, you can say, no, we did the work. It wasn't easy. And it probably didn't work 100% of the time. And maybe it did. But we vowed at that point that we weren't going to have society raise our kids. We were going to raise our kids. And I love that. And so maybe you can, talk a little bit about some of the transformation you're doing for people now based on some of these things that you figured out. And then the aha moment of, wait a minute, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. Maybe give some examples of how you've been able to help people and maybe some of their stories or something that you go, wait a minute, I did that, or yeah.
Absolutely. So, I use this phrase a lot, live by design. And I
Mhm.
truly mean it because that was one thing that I had to learn while in a corporate structure, which, by the way, isn't unique to corporate. It's just life.
Yeah, yeah.
If we set the intention, we will always prove ourselves right. However, a lot of times we allow external circumstances dictate what happens in our life, and then our life becomes by default. I was paying attention to people around me when I was in corporate, and I could tell that people with the same background, sometimes even the same education, very similar drives, would get very different results. One person would have those lateral moves back and forth, and another person would keep getting promotions. Like, what was the difference? And then I was seeing that in the private sector, where people in the same field and the same niche, as we call it, some people would go bankrupt, some people would build millions. Like, what was the difference? It was the
Mhm.
intention, it was the focus. Are you paying attention to what's possible, or are you stewing in the worst case scenario? So when I work with people, the very first question I ask is, what do you want? Almost 100% of the time, people start telling me what they don't want. Isn't it funny?
Hmm.
Well, I
Okay.
don't want to work long hours. I don't want to work on weekends. Well, I don't want to be spending holidays in the office. Well, I don't want to be doing this. So listen to the question. What do you want? And then people pause. Because over the time, as life was lifing, we have forgotten how to dream. We have forgotten that wanting is not bratty, it's not greedy, it's part of creation. How can you create if you don't know what the design is? So we actually start by untangling this bowl of Christmas lights, getting clear on what it is that people want. And I'm going to give a little challenge to everybody who's watching us. Over the weekend, take a piece of paper and write down 50 things that you want. Spoiler alert. You will do really well till about 20. And then you will be drawing the blank. Keep going, because that is the point where you start breaking that mold and really starting to listen to yourself. And by the way, here is your permission slip to want what you want and feel good about it. So if you want to go on a budget-free vacation, amazing. If you want to go off the grid, amazing. If you want to have a private chef, do it. Ladies, if you want to have a spa day every month or every week, put it down. Because universe is like universal prime. If there is nothing in the cart, it cannot deliver. So one of my favorite stories that I tell people is there was a person who came to me and they were looking to grow their business. And it was one of those 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. And I was like, interesting. Like, they knew their deal. Like, I am very fortunate to work with business owners who really understand their business. They had the model. They had all of those chassis in place.
Mm-hmm.
But it just wasn't clicking. And so when we stepped back and talked about, so what do you actually want? Came to find out that the person actually loved teaching. Now, this is not a traditional story where the person quit their business and became a high school teacher. Mm-hmm. They stayed in their field. They absolutely stayed in their field, which was actually rental properties, but they pivoted into developing this very solid, very agile coaching program that allows people to buy, restore, flip, and rent properties to create this additional income flow. Mm-hmm. And their business is blooming and booming because the person is now in the flow doing what they want. Now, did they have to get good about learning how to work with rental properties and how to manage the process? And 100%. Do they have the financial back? 100%. But that fire, what was filling their cup, was actually taking that knowledge and putting it back into the world. And let me tell you something. Everybody who's like, well, what is my life's purpose? We all have that same life purpose. Serve the expansion of the world. Now, we each choose to do it in our own way. But as long as you're serving the expansion of the world, you're good.
I like that. Serve the expansion of the world. I love the challenge you just gave us because, as I was thinking of all the things that I want and what you said about how many people say what they don't want. And I bet if you ask that same question, list all the things that you don't want, they would probably come up with 100 things on their list like right away. Because, but what does that translate to? Okay, I don't want this, but then, like you said, what do I do want instead? Because if you stop at what you don't want, then you're just miserable because you're dwelling on all the things you don't want. And I can imagine after making a list like that, or after telling you, they almost probably got to get this like sad face that like they're thinking of like, this is what I don't want, but this is what I got in many cases. Is that kind of what it is? The things that we say we don't want are the life that we're living now?
100%. So this is where my woo-woo comes in, which actually is more quantum physics, but nobody wants to listen about quantum physics. Sorry, Mom. My mom has PhD in physics.
Oh,
But
gotcha.
if I say I'm going to give out some woo-woo tips, people are like, okay, girl, I'm listening. Here's the truth. Universe is one ginormous electromagnetic field.
Okay.
We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
We are all bundles of energy. We all know that. The way we interact with the universe is universe reads our dominant intent. So it assumes what we're thinking about the most, we want. What we're talking about is what we're speaking into existence. What we feel the most is what we're calling in. So if there is a person who is focused on the lack of money, the debt that they carry, the challenges of building wealth, the impossibility of having life for them, that becomes their dominant intent. Now, we also have this really funny thing built in. It's called RAS, Reticular Activation System. It is trained to find the evidence of what we're paying attention to. I'm sure you can relate. Like if you buy, I don't know, red Jeep, you start driving, all of a sudden, everybody in your town drives red Jeeps. You're like, what's happening? Because you're paying attention while you haven't paid in the past. So again, let's take it back to business and money. If you convince yourself that bringing in business is hard, that the economy is challenging, that nobody is buying, that market is oversaturated, whatever the story is, you're going to find the evidence of that 100% of the time. It's by law. That's why we call them universal laws, because they work every single time for every human on a planet in the exact same way.
Wow.
So the shift that I help people make is going from what if to imagine when.
Okay.
And it is that shift from looking at the worst case scenario and figuring out every possible shoe that can possibly drop, just saying, wait a minute, imagine when this works. And will that shoe drop? Probably, but none of us are a Cinderella. We're not wearing glass slippers. It's not going to shatter. If the shoe drops, you pick it up, you put it on, you lace it a little tighter, and you get back in the game.
Wow. So I guess the question I have then is we have our reticular activating system that we're seeing things and paying attention to things. How do we stop paying attention to those things that you brought up that we don't want and start paying attention to the imagination that you talked about of what is possible or what we would get to, because we're so stuck in looking back at our past that it's hard to see our future.
100%. And also biologically, our beliefs are practice thoughts. So if we thought a certain thought enough times, it became a belief. In our brain, it formed those neural pathways, right? And every time it traveled, it made that groove a little deeper. So I'd be lying if I told you that, oh, you can do it like that. Possibly, but not 100% of the time. So we actually start with small steps, and I tell all the time, it's those micro steps that create quantum leaps. So if you're used to creating the worst case scenario, allow yourself that, do it. And also write down right next to it all of the things that will possibly go right. In the morning when you wake up, tell yourself in the mirror one simple affirmation. Today, is going to be a good day, I am going to look for the evidence and I'm going to find it. Because Dr. B, we wake up a lot of mornings and we say, okay, today's going to be crap. It's raining. I just stepped on my dog. I forgot to set up the coffee maker in the morning. Now I'm running late. This day, it's ruined. We do that.
Yeah.
Imagine when you wake up and you say, today's going to be a good day. I'm going to look for the evidence. Let's go. You will find that Princess Parking or Prince Parking where you pull up to the store and you get that very close spot. You will have somebody pay for your coffee as you're waiting to pick up your order. If you forgot the umbrella, it will hold off and not rain. Like there are little things that will start playing in your favor. And it's like muscle memory. The more you set the intention for finding fun, joy, happiness, the easier it gets.
Wow. And I can imagine that when you start looking for the evidence, then it kind of reinforces when that evidence shows itself. Because I think we're also looking for the evidence of when something goes wrong and we go, see, I told you it was going to be. I mean, I hear that so much all the time, right? See, I told you. Why does this always happen to me? Why am I the only one who never gets a good parking spot? I never ever get a good parking spot. Well, you're looking not to, right? You've already decided that is your life. I'm correct, right? Oh my gosh.
Or in business, we're like, oh my God, good customers are so hard to get by. Wow. Who do you love to work with? Because let me tell you, I work with the most incredible people. My clients are the gem. I look forward to talking to each and every one of them, but I am very intentional with who I want to work with. Universe has a very clear picture of the type of people I want to bring into my world, and it doesn't fail. Now, if you're focused on people you're afraid you're going to attract, people who default on their payments, people who ghost, people who don't do the work, like whatever it is that a business owner is afraid of, that's going to work too, because we will always prove ourselves right. That is non-negotiable. Whatever we decide, we will prove ourselves right. This is why some of the old school business practices truly kind of make me wonder. So one I pick on all the time, and it's very common in the sales world, and I'm probably going to lose some followers here, but let's go. Go collect 15 no's. Do you know how many times people get that from their manager, from their sales lead?
Yeah, sales training 101. Yeah.
They think they're helping that associate develop thick skin. In reality, they're conditioning that person to expect rejection. And if you practice getting rejected 50 times, you're going to get really good at getting rejected. What do they give them? A list of objections. This is how you're going to overcome objections. They assume that the lead will be objecting, and they condition themselves. They tune themselves up to the frequency of being rejected. Imagine when you were single and you were looking to date, you would be like, I'm going to ask 50 girls to reject me before I find my sweetheart. Like, that sounds ridiculous. Or like, I'm going to go shopping and I'm going to go to 5 stores that I hate before I go to the store where I'll shop. Like, what? But we do that in business and we think that's okay. Cannot tell you how many times I said it in the room and the sales team went like, wait, what? This actually makes sense. Like, I don't want to be rejected. Don't set the intention to.
Wow. So many things have just popped into my mind. A story popped into my mind because I was thinking about all the sales training that I've been through on overcoming objections. And I've always thought it's easier. Why overcome objections when they don't have any, right? And so, but one of the times that I was in high school before I knew I could get rejected, is we had this fundraiser. It was called the Go 10 fundraiser. So I was a track, so you could run 10 laps and people would pay you for every lap or whatever. It was a multiple of 10. And I decided that I was going to go to the mall and I was going to get 10 girls to give me a kiss in my Go 10 world, right? So I got all these guys that were, not only was I getting parents and folks to, give me $1 per whatever it was, most of my team was going to give me something if I was able to do that. So this is in the time when we had all the indoor malls, and I go there and I don't know I can be rejected. I'm expecting this to work out. And then they all came with me. We got 20 guys that are standing on the rail in the mall, and I'm down below asking all these girls to kiss me. And I use that to my advantage. I'm like, see all these guys, they don't believe I can get this done. Whatever, I remember some of the conversations I had. But within a half hour, I was done with my 10 kisses. And they were all, no way. And then it got kind of crazy because they're all cheering from the second floor, like, yeah, you did it, whatever. But I didn't realize that I could be rejected. Listening to what you're saying, and then I'm thinking about the affirmations. We affirm stuff all day long, whether we call it an affirmation or not. We might as well make them good ones instead of ones that, because we're gonna get up and plan our day and say this is how it's gonna go, whether we say it negatively or positively, right?
100%. 100%. You will always find what you're looking for, because our thoughts literally emit frequencies. And that's actually the law of attraction, because everybody talks about, especially now, right, with Valentine's Day tomorrow, it's like, oh, law of attraction. The basic of the law of attraction is likes attract likes. Meaning, in order for you to have what you want, you should be a vibrational match to the frequency of your desire. So if you want budget-free vacations, if you want a cool car, if you want effortless business, if you want life by design, you really want to be on the frequency of joy and happiness and, being balanced and allowing. Because if you're anchored at the frequency of regret, anger, remorse, desperation, it's going like that. Everything you want is over here. But if you're down there, it's like you're being tuned into a wrong radio station. Like if you're listening to country music station, why are you upset that AC/DC is not coming on? Wrong frequency, buddy. Wrong frequency.
Yeah. You said you used the phrase a few times, life by design. Help me understand what life by design is, and then how do we get it if it's something that's great?
Yeah. So let me give you an analogy, because I find that our brain receives stories easier than teachings. Imagine that you want to build a house. You sit down with an architect and you start describing what you want. So, you know what? I would like a colonial. I would like large windows, preferably overlooking the ocean. We really like to entertain. So a large kitchen that kind of feeds into a big entertainment area would be amazing. Oh, and also my spouse is a huge bookworm. So if you can build this really cool library for us, that would be amazing. The more specific you are with the design of the house that you want, the more accurate that blueprint will be. Agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
What will happen with the blueprint after it's created? It gets turned over to the construction company and it gets built. Now, if you didn't talk about your spouse loving books and wanting a library in your house, chances are it's not going to be in the blueprint, and therefore the construction company isn't going to build it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are the architect of your life. The universe is the construction company. We are responsible for the what and the why. And then the universe will deliver the how and when. So when you get clear on what you want, what kind of business you want, what type of hours you want to work, what clients you want to serve, what product you want to bring to the market, what you want your weekends to look like, how you want to vacation, what kind of circle you want to be in, that all goes into the blueprint. And then universe kind of rallies around, brings its construction crew, and creates that reality for you. So if you deliberately, and there are a lot of old school business owners who are committed to hustle and grind, surround themselves with fellow hustlers and grinders, guess what? You're going to have life by design, hustling and grinding. If you decide that you're ready to shift to the frequency of being modern entrepreneur, where you are actually working with universal laws, when you understand how energy flows, where you are in alignment and you welcome ease and effortless exchange of energy, well, that's the circle who's going to surround you with. We get upset when we don't get what we want, but I always say, let's go back to the blueprint. Was it there? Mm-hmm. Did you put it in? And that's what creates life by design.
Man, that's so cool. One thing I really want to ask you, because so many of us believe that we can just do this whole thing by ourselves. Like, I'm just going to read up on, law of attraction, or I'm going to, read up on, I got to do the right affirmations. And I just find it hard if we're stuck in the habits of our life that we've been and the frequency that we're in. It's hard to just jump out of it without help, without somebody who can guide you or help you, or even if it's just for accountability on you not going back on the things you said. The value of coaching, or the value of somebody like you, maybe kind of talk about that a little bit, because there's just so many people that continue to fail over and over again, and they wonder why. I'm a track coach and I coach hurdles, and the kids who try to hurdle by themselves can never get it without somebody looking at them and making it happen. So we talk about that a little bit.
The do-it-yourself approach that so many of us think as ballsy, as type A, as strength, is actually myopic, because there are always people who are a step further, and they can help us shortcut because they will tell us what to avoid, where to pivot, how to turn. Let me give you, for instance, can I cut my own hair? Technically, yes. Why would I?
Yeah.
How many successful people, whether in business, in politics, in entertainment, got there without coaches? There are always people in their corner. That's one of the key phrases I tell my clients all the time. I'm in your corner. Your success is personal to me, because I don't have a product to sell. I'm offering a service. And when we work with people, like, first of all, every coach needs a coach. I have a coach. I have multiple coaches. And if you are working with a coach who doesn't have a coach, fire them, because they maxed out. Like, they're actually at a plateau. If they think they figured it all out, we all get in our own head. The reason it's so important to have a coach with a fresh perspective is because they will call us out on our BS. Let me be very honest. A ton of mental blocks, a ton of limiting beliefs don't come in with the name tag, hi, I'm your limiting belief. They're very normalized. We've been thinking it on repeat. It is serving the purpose. It has literally set roots in our nervous system. And in fact, trying to shift that belief, even if it's not serving us, it's going to activate the nervous system and be like, no, everything is fine. We're okay. Keeping it steady. Don't make any moves, because that's the survival, right? We want to be safe, meaning same. So calling those stories and questioning them and saying, hold on a minute, is this serving you? Is this even your belief? Or did you pick it up because you've heard it so many times you choose to think it's the truth? Are you sure this is it for you? Because let's look at it from this angle. That's the power of coaching. That's the power of coaching. It's helping you get where you want to go, kind of like using a GPS. Can you figure it out on your own? Okay, buddy. But I personally use GPS because I don't want to be in a construction zone. I want to avoid accidents and like the holdups. And sometimes I don't want a scenic route. I want to get there fast. That's the job of the coach.
Yeah. Well, it just came to my mind of everybody that folks idolize, like say it's a sports team and we just got done with the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
I've never seen a football team without a coach on the field. I've never seen any sports team without somebody who can monitor and the things that you're saying and go, wait a minute, what are those accountability issues? What are those things that you can't see because we only have our eyes that are going this way and the other side? And yet when we get into a business situation, or we get into a situation where we want our life to change because we want our life to be better, we go, well, I got to do this by myself. It's almost like this pride thing that we look at ourselves and go, well, yeah, I can do this. I'm gonna show you that I can make this amount of money, and you have no clue how to do it, and you think it's just gonna jump on your face, or I'm gonna watch even beyond like you. I'm not saying YouTube is bad because I learned a lot of things on YouTube, but it's way different. YouTube doesn't keep me accountable. YouTube doesn't see what I've done and then switch it off, right?
YouTube is teaching. That's different.
Yes.
It's not coaching.
Yes.
And I think that's where a lot of pseudo coaches get lost, because there are people who can create a lesson plan. They know a topic or a subject and they can regurgitate it on repeat. Coaching is different because it looks at your performance right now. And it identifies opportunities where you can change those dials and shift those dials to improve your performance. That's how you will know if you're dealing with a teacher or coach, because a lot of people will shy away from live coaching, from hot seat coaching, from open mics, because they know what they know and they read their script and the script is solid. But they're stopping one step shy of coaching you and getting messy in your situation and saying, no, hold on a minute. This is the principle. This is the theory. Now let's look at what you're doing right now and tune you up.
Wow. Man, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I feel like I guess I got to jump through the screen and just hang out with you for a few months and my life will never be the same. Man, and I can't believe the time that we've had. This is one of the best conversations I've had in so long. What didn't we talk about that you want to make sure that we at least touch on? I mean, let's come back and do some more, but at least touch on. And then how can people get a hold of you? Because it's such good stuff. Again, we got a whole bunch of hearts on our thing that people are saying that they loved what we were talking about. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So there is a big myths out there that in order to experience this mindset shift, in order to untangle your business situation, in order to break through the revenue plateau, you need to throw thousands of dollars and spend years doing it. That's a BS. It's not that hard. And I tell people all the time, we can get you to quantum leap within months, sometimes weeks. It is just getting clear intention, is deciding what you want, and staying focused on imagine when. And that's why we do those amazing events like you and I are doing next weekend, right? It's next Saturday. Yes,
Saturday,
the 21st, where we do virtual events, where we invite people and we say, come and let me show you how easy it can be. Now, coaching is a funny thing. We can't improve your performance if you don't show up on the field. If you choose to hang out on the bleachers, bless your heart, get yourself popcorn. I don't want to hear you whine. If you show up on the field, every single coach will pour into you to improve the performance. It's not that hard. You can get it done. I do free monthly events every month. And I invite people and I say, I'm going to coach you. It's not a sale event. And as a matter of fact, if I can help you over the course of 3 days for free, that's a real flex for me. I am that effective. Now, there are people who, of course, say, listen, I want a framework. Like, I want a little bit more than just point in time advice. I respect that. Then we can sit down, we can talk about and figure out what works best for you, what kind of program might work for you. And that's where you can find what I do, which is basically my website. It's www.atlas-paradigm.com. You can click on services and see what I do. But I will leave everybody with this thought. If you didn't take notes, I want you to write this down. This is one thing I'm going to ask you to write down. Information is not transformation. Just listening, just reading books, just watching YouTube isn't going to move the needle, because every change requires the momentum. And it is us, our thoughts, our intentions, and our actions that create that momentum. So when people say, oh yeah, I went to that seminar, I went to that webinar, I participated in an event, nothing changed. Well, buddy, nothing changes, nothing changes. So how did you embody that information? How did you convert that information into transformation? What one step did you decide to take? So everybody has a homework, right? It's a list of 50. Write down 50 things that you want and let Dr. B and me know how it went for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Information is not transformation. Man, I hope you guys will go back and listen to this. It'll be, the recording will be up on, the platforms, because there's so many gems that you can take out of this, because you are the architect of your life. The universe is the construction crew. I learned that today. You are the architect. And I hope you take advantage of making that happen, because you were born for greatness, and the greatness is inside of you. And there's nothing stopping you from getting it or activating it but you, and then maybe coming along somebody who can help you get there. And so I hope that today was rewarding for you. I know it was for me. I'm going to go back and listen to it. Lena, thank you so much for being on. I can't wait to have you next week. If you go to it's becomingthroughaction.live, becomingthroughaction.live. We'll put it in the show notes. Check out, we're doing it once, the third Saturday of each month this year. This one in February. I don't know when you're listening to this, but if you got time now in February to watch it, we'll have the replays and stuff inside of our community, becomingtheperson.com. So again, what an amazing day. What an amazing thought. I'm going to go to bed thinking about all these things that you just taught me. I can't wait to spend more time with you. We're going to have her back. I promise you that, even if I have to go to Pennsylvania and drag her to a camera or something. It has been phenomenal. So you guys have an amazing, awesome, just incredible day. Don't forget, to me, you are God's greatest gift. And so you are born for greatness. Make sure you live within that greatness, and we will talk to you on the next one. Have an amazing day.